Hey Harmonizers, welcome to this video with Solar, who is one of the geldings that we brought in as part of the rescue rehoming project with the senior horses. So he is 18 years old, and I'm going to show you guys his first groundwork session with going over some of the bridges and the obstacles, as well as his very first ride with us at our farm. And basically the home where he came from, they were loved, but they were not able to be maintained in terms of their healthcare, as well as hadn't done any training or riding or anything for many years. So he has been not doing a whole lot, and he's very friendly. Like all the horses that we got from this place, they were very friendly and enjoyed being around people. So it's not that they were mistreated in that sense. They just weren't able to care for them. So we were dealing with deworming, treating for lice and mites, for treating for thrush, getting regular trimming and things done, just from not having beautifully balanced feet because it just wasn't taken care of very well. So now that he's starting to do a lot better in terms of having those things taken care of, we're gradually getting into some training and kind of seeing what the different personalities are like. And so this is Solar coming out, and we love exploring with the obstacles. Of course, we don't start right with the obstacles. There's other groundwork and things that we do first. I'm just kind of showing you some of the highlights. And we love to see how the horses think and process. So there you could see with the pool noodles, he wasn't really sure. He kind of waited. He wasn't kind of keen on it, and he took a minute to think about it, and then he went through. And then when we turn around and come back the other way, he was like, oh, okay, sure, no problem. I'll go through the pool noodles. So it's nice to kind of see he learns kind of quickly with stuff like that. It's also nice that even when he was not sure about going through the pool noodles, he just stopped to think about it for a minute. He didn't do anything really big or flighty or anything really pushy, because some horses, when they kind of say no, sometimes they can say no in a pretty big way. And so this instead is showing us that he actually kind of thinks about things, he slowed down. I really like that. We really like that, and we allow the horse the time to think and process, because that's a good thing for them to do. Here, walking over the cross rail, for sure, it's a big thing to step over, but we just get to see, does he put his head down and look where he's going, lift his back? And it's like, yep, yes, he does. And then there's a lot of other things that we kind of play around with. We do things like trying out some lateral buttons, like some sideways. We do some backup. We do moving hips and shoulders and all sorts of things. And then here is a little example of some of the other stuff where Ryan's asking Solar to trot with him or trot with her. And that's an important skill, because that's kind of a precursor to getting to do any riding, is knowing that you can manage your energy when you're trotting, that you don't get too excited or flighty or kind of run past us. So we always love to have these basics on the ground happening first, because then it sets us up for a much better ride. And you guys are going to get to see that. You'll see his first ride with us, which is probably his first ride in, I'm not entirely sure exactly how many years, but several years. And what's interesting about what you're going to see with what we do with the horses is we don't do a whole ton of lunging. It's not like we have to saddle you up and do tons of lunging both directions. Of course, we do some groundwork. Of course, we kind of check that they're comfortable with the saddle and all of those pieces. But there is way more to groundwork than lunging. That causes the horse to think and understand cues for riding, and helps them realize that it's a good thing to slow down and think rather than to just keep going and going. And this here you can see Ryan's working on picking up his feet, which understandably, he's not always a big fan of picking up his feet, because when he originally came, his feet were in such rough shape from the thrush and some abscesses from not being trimmed properly and being in an environment that wasn't super, dry. So it wasn't very conducive to having dry, healthy hooves. So we had to treat them for thrush and things like that. And understandably, they were sore, completely understandable. And so now with some trimming, treating for thrush, just helping him with all of those pieces, there's no issues of having abscess or thrush anymore. Things are looking really good. And then it's just a matter of kind of building up his trust that his feet aren't going to hurt and that we're just helping take care of them. So just little bits of picking up his feet. And that's going to get better and better as he realizes that we're not hurting, we're helping. And overall, he's doing really, really well with that. Here's just a little clip of him on the cross ties as we're looking at, his feet doing different things. And he's being really great, just standing there super chill and calm. And now you get to take a look at his first time doing his first ride with us. Of course, doing some stuff with the saddle on off, like really taking our time with the saddle pad, the saddle, the cinch, all of those things. And getting to the place where now comfortable and ready to try going for that first ride. And so this is getting on him for the very first time at our farm. And you can see it went really, really well. And he kind of walks off a little bit there thinking like, what, you want to give me a cookie? And we're like, yeah, we're going to give you a cookie. That's a thing we do at our farm is we reward you when you're doing good stuff. And when we reward horses, it also gets them licking and chewing and unlocking their jaw and helps with a lot of sometimes those other issues that we can have happen with horses. So here you can see a little bit of steering with the walking, kind of figuring out some of those basics. And then after those get figured out, then we start getting into the trotting. But of course, I didn't want to give you guys a whole 15-minute video of him walking around and getting nice and relaxed that way. I thought I'll give you guys a few highlights of some of the getting started, steering, turning, and then it was, let's try trotting. And he did really, really well. You can see the footings, not the best day outside because we had a ton of rain. We are getting a crazy amount of rain this summer. It's like absolutely insane because some hay fields aren't even able to cut their hay yet because we just keep getting so much rain and the hay wouldn't even have time to dry. So our farm is a lot wetter and more slick than it typically is. But we felt coming to the round pen was a good place to do his first ride because it's a little smaller. But also just because the outdoor ring has grass on one side and a bit of a hill, so it just makes it a little harder. And the indoor ring is busy a lot of the times with other things going on. So that why not ride in the round pen where it's quieter, it's just us, and it doesn't have some of the other distractions. Because whenever you're doing challenging things with horses or sometimes some new things, you really want to take the time to set it up for success. And in this case, it's his first ride in who knows how many years. And he's doing absolutely phenomenal. He's going around trotting, he's listening, he's doing his real best. And considering he's done very little over the past several years, he's remembering a lot of cues. He's stopping, he's going, he's steering. He's looking pretty awesome with all of these little pieces. So we're feeling really awesome about what he's doing. And you can see we're just riding him around with a halter and some reins. And some people say, well, why do you ride with just a halter and reins? Why don't you have a bit? And we often start horses back or just start horses in general with the halter because if the horse listens well for their groundwork with the halter, why not just attach reins to the halter? Because if it works for your groundwork, then everything stays the same for your riding and it makes it very simple for the horse. Whereas when you go to a bit can be in their mouth a more sensitive place, a more emotional place for the horses. For Solar, we don't actually know if or when he last had his teeth done, if he's ever had his teeth done. And that was not something that was communicated to me. And so we want to make sure we get his teeth done before we stick a bit in his mouth because we want to be really fair. And he is 18 years old. So in that amount of time, it's very probable that he has some sharp teeth points and wearing a bit could be potentially uncomfortable for him. So why do something that would make him be more sensitive or more emotional or potentially even in pain. So that is going to be something that we definitely book the vet and have them come out. And you might be thinking, well, why are you riding before you even do the teeth? And part of it is we like to kind of see what we're working with, but also it's a halter, and so it's on the outside of his face, and he seems to be comfortable in the halter for all of his groundwork. So the transition into riding is a pretty simple process. It's not something to really worry about. If he was being really reactive to the halter when we were, pulling to direct him left or right or something like that, then of course we would make sure that we get the vet out sooner to look at those things. But instead, we can just be booked in as a normal visit when their schedule fits us in. And that is going to be coming up soon. So we'll definitely be doing that. And we'll make sure that he's well taken care of and that he's got all of his health care up to date. And then this part here is kind of fun because we're trying to ask him for a canter and very politely nudging him in. And then look at that, that's his first canter and who knows how many years under saddle. And it's very uneventful. Of course, he kind of ran into the canter a little bit, but that's because there hasn't been training in who knows how long. So he's got to understand the cues like, yep, we're saying it's okay to canter, go ahead and canter. And of course, we're being super careful too, because we don't want to get on and be like, yeehaw, yeehaw, get cantering, like get going, big kicks. Instead, we just want to be super polite, cue him to canter, ride out the canter, let him go long enough that he feels like, oh, okay, yep, like that's what I was supposed to do. And you can see he's going to get a little cookie. He's having lots of little licks and chews. He's just looking really nicely for this first ride. So we thought, okay, we'll do a little canter going the other way before we call it a day. And usually, like, especially because he hasn't been ridden in a long time, we don't want to make their back sore or anything like that. So we start with really short rides. And I mean like no more than 20 minutes kind of rides where it's mostly just about finding relaxation and understanding with the different gaits. And because he's doing so well, we're like, yeah, okay, we can try a canter both ways. But the canter that you're seeing of the little bit each direction, that's all we did for canter because he's so new to coming back into training. There's no point, even though he's great and like, oh yeah, we could go do more. It's not worth trying to rush him and then make him sore in the process. So short little rides. And that was a great first ride back. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments, and thanks for watching.
Remember to subscribe and check out harmonyhorsemanship.com for even more learning.